weapon durability, for when the developer wants to punish you for committing the grave sin of using your weapons. Yes, it is a very hated mechanic because it stops you from using the things you want to use. Trust me, I understand. However, when we look at weapon durability in terms of gameplay and the purpose that it serves, there's actual use to having it. Understanding the purpose of weapon durability is the key to learning the sacred art of using potions before the final boss. Yes, I know, using potions for the final boss? Unheard of. But stick with me through this video and I will teach you exactly how to do that. Greetings, sailors and passengers, this is your captain speaking, and today I want to rant about weapon durability. There's a lot to talk about in terms of what it is, the perception around it, and how understanding weapon durability is the key to using consumable items, because they do actually have a lot in common. With that out of the way, I am Captain Lucia Flora of the Revenge, and I hope you enjoy our cruise today. Part 1. What is weapon durability? Whether referring to the health of a vehicle, how many times you can get hit before your armor breaks, how many times you can use a weapon before you can't use it anymore, durability is a very broad term. I want to talk about specifically weapon durability. The reason I want to specifically talk about weapon durability is because armor durability is more of like an additional health pool, and durability when referring to vehicle health is just literally health. And those would be better understood discussing those mechanics. Now, weapon durability is, on its surface, pretty simple. You attack with a weapon, you hit an enemy, you lose one use of the weapon. Sometimes there are other factors that decrease the use at a faster rate. Example, in Minecraft, if you use a sword to try and chop down a tree, you actually consume twice as much durability doing so. Weapon durability features in a lot of games, whether it's Fire Emblem, Legend of Zelda, Project Zomboid, Minecraft. There are plenty of games where your weapons degrade as you use them. But what if I told you that weapon durability doesn't only apply in these specific circumstances? You may be shocked to realize that your favorite game may in fact have weapon durability. And understanding this is key to finally learning how to use your potions. Part 2. Bullets are durability. When you think about the actual code of weapon durability, it can be pretty straightforward. You attack, you hit an enemy, and it consumes one use, and then the weapon will have a base amount of uses. This same exact code can apply to ranged weapons, such as the plasma weapons from Halo. You can't reload them, and they have a limited number of uses. Is that not durability? And following that logic, can we push it a little further? Do weapons with magazines that you reload have durability? Now, the Minecraft to plasma rifle comparison makes sense up front, but the bullet one doesn't right away, right? I mean, a limited number of uses and then reloading to refresh the number of uses? Imagine a game where you have a melee weapon and you use it to attack the enemy, and after you hit the enemy enough times, your weapon's durability, we'll call it sharpness, goes down. And then in order to restore it, you have to sharpen it using some sort of consumable item. In a way, this setup would perfectly mimic ranged weapons, but that doesn't exist, right? I mean, a game where you have to use a consumable item to sharpen your melee weapon, who would? It's Monster Hunter. Yes, in older Monster Hunter titles, the whetstone was in fact a consumable item, meaning that the difference between a Monster Hunter using a greatsword and a Helldiver using a machine gun is indistinguishable. You have a set number of uses, and then you have to essentially reload in order to regain those uses. Weapon sharpening has been a core aspect of the series since the very beginning, and so you have an entire melee combat system based around durability and refreshing that durability. It is ammunition. Ammunition and durability are interchangeable. The only difference is the name. If there is no functional difference between them, why do we hate durability, but we are okay with ammunition? Part 3. Perception. I'm going to play you a clip from the Idle Thumbs podcast, where they discuss World of Warcraft and the resting system.
In World of Warcraft, what they did when they first designed the game was they had an experience system that would, over time, lower the amount of experience you got, because they wanted to encourage people to play for like 2 hours at a time instead of 12 hours at a time. So the longer you played, you'd get this experience degradation, and then it would bottom out, and at that point it would be a fixed rate of experience. And people just hated it. They fucking hated it. And so they went back, and he was like, all right, so basically what we did was we made everything in the game take twice as much as experience to achieve as before, and then we flipped it. So actually what happens is you start getting 200% experience, and eventually it goes back down to 100. So that effectively now how they spin it is, when you log out for a while, you get this 200% boost when you log back in. And then over time it goes away and you just get regular 100% experience. It's exactly the same as it was before, except now everyone's like, fuck yeah, Blizzard, this is exactly what I want.
As you can see, the perception of a mechanic is much more important than the actual mechanic itself. Well, there's a few reasons why we're more okay with guns losing ammo than we are swords losing durability. One is you can pick up ammo, so you can refresh the amount of times you can use the weapon. Another is that we just inherently know that guns have a limited number of uses through ammunition. So telling players that they can only shoot a gun a certain number of times doesn't strike them as odd. Meanwhile, you tell someone that they can only hit an enemy with a sword 50 times, and they start going, but it's a sword. It's a solid sheet of metal. I should be able to hit an enemy as many times as I want. Which isn't even true in real life. Bladed weapons need constant maintenance to maintain their cutting edge, and even blunt weapons have to be managed so that they don't splinter on impact. Another aspect is what is the purpose of the durability. For example, the weapon durability in the Breath of the Wild serves two purposes. As stated by Breath of the Wild director, excuse my Japanese, Hidemaru Fujihayashi, and series producer Eiji Aonuma, the first was, quote, gravity. Essentially, by giving enemies strong weapons, you had incentive to go to those enemies and defeat them to gain the weapons. In a sense, pulling the players in certain directions so they didn't wander aimlessly. Second reason was that the weapon durability system is easy to understand. You hit enemies too many times and your weapon breaks, which adds some complexity and strategizing around what weapons to use and when, without having intricate fighting game combos. While both reasons make perfect sense from a gameplay perspective, it just doesn't feel good, personally. With your limited inventory size, having weapons break can really feel like you just never have enough weapons to complete a challenge. And if you fill your inventory up with really powerful weapons, you don't ever want to use them against the weaker mobs running around. Compare this to, say, Dead Rising. Dead Rising is a game where you're in the mall with limited inventory and everything has durability. However, the fun of the game is you can pick up anything to use as a weapon. And considering everything can be a weapon, it never feels like you're that far away from a defensive option. There are some things that are stronger than others, there's no doubt about that, but just the ability to know that you can pick something up and have a few swings with it is comforting, to say the least. So as you can see, weapon durability can serve effective gameplay purposes, but the perception about it can really affect how players view their weapon durability, whether positively or negatively, or even if the underlying mechanics are the same. To also help explain why the perception of ammo is a little more favorable than the perception of durability for weapons, we'll jump to Halo. In Halo, you can pick up any weapon off the ground, and all weapons will have the same performance. By that I mean every SMG will always perform as every other SMG. And so the idea of giving up one weapon for another doesn't hurt because you know you'll always pick it up later. If you don't like your current weapon, you can pick up a new one. Your plasma rifle runs out, grab a new one. Also, that there's ammo scattered around, and you can pick up ammo off of weapons of similar types, so that if you're really enjoying using the assault rifle, or the battle rifle, or the DMR, or any of the other weapons, you can just refresh your ammo, and it never feels like you're being punished for shooting the gun. So I've covered a lot of info about weapon durability, but I want to cover one more thing. Part 4. It's in the game for a reason. So a good game with weapon durability has a reason for weapon durability. We already covered Breath of the Wild, Dead Rising, and Halo, but we have other examples. In Minecraft, weapons and tools break after prolonged use to encourage you to craft more and craft better tools. In Project Zomboid, your weapons can break, and that is to build tension, because if you don't have weapons on you and you get into a fight with a zombie, it can be deadly really fast. Dead Island has weapon durability, but with your expanded inventory slot and all of the insane weapon crafting, the weapon durability serves to encourage the player to have a variety of weapons, which then lends into the combat system, where you want to have long-reach, high-stagger weapons for groups of zombies, quick, high-damage attacks for when infected rush you, powerful weapons for when fighting crushers or chargers, and the durability helps encourage having multiple types of weapons because you can't just rely on a single one. Monster Hunter sharpening is a core part of the game, as we discussed previously, but it's also a skill expression. Having to leave a zone in order to sharpen your weapon is something you can do, but expert players will be able to sharpen their weapon in the same area as the monster, because they will know the pattern, know where to stand, and can just sharpen the weapon and get back to attacking the monster. Which leads me to the title of this section. The developers want you to break your weapons. I know that sounds weird, but the reason durability is in the game isn't because they want to punish you for using your weapon. It's the opposite. They want you to use the weapon. They want you to use it a lot, actually. And part of using a weapon constantly and having it get low in durability means you then have to switch to other weapons, which is the point. Hi, Editing Captain here. I just wanted to add an addendum to the previous part. I'm talking mainly about games where combat is the primary focus. There are other types of games, such as stealth games, where the purpose of weapon durability is to actually discourage you from attacking, because your weapons won't last that long in a straight-up fight, which again means durability is an intended gameplay mechanic. Anyway, back to the video. And so dealing with weapon durability, the best way to look at it is not you're being punished for attacking the enemy, and it sucks, and weapon durability is stupid and it shouldn't be in any game. Instead, what you need to consider is that weapon durability has a gameplay purpose. And if you are afraid of engaging with weapon durability, you're never going to understand the real reason weapons have durability in the games that you play. Remember, unless the game developer is an asshole who specifically wants to make you suffer in a troll game, there's probably a reason they have a mechanic in the game and want you to engage with it. Not engaging with that mechanic goes against the purpose of playing the game. A bonus part. How to use potions. Alright, you sat through the video, you got to the end. So now I'm going to teach you how to use potions. I mean, we've all seen the jokes, right? You want to save all of these items until you actually need them, and then you beat the game with a full inventory having used none of them. So what you've just proven is that you don't need these items to beat the bosses. You don't need these items to beat encounters. And since you don't need them to beat an encounter, why are you saving them? Let's say, for example, if you use Healing Potion while fighting a group of low-level enemies versus choosing to save it when you actually need it, in both scenarios, you didn't use the potion during a boss fight. You didn't use it during the boss fight because, you didn't need it. You know, taking a couple more turns to beat the boss, but you really didn't need a health potion. When you use against the low-level enemies, you don't have the option of using it against the boss because you don't have it anymore. In both scenarios, you didn't use a potion against the boss. So why are you saving the potion? Just use it. And I know what you're gonna say. But what if I actually need it? What if it's a game I haven't played and I don't know what's coming? Then I should really think about saving the item for a difficult boss. And to that, my answer is, be honest with yourself. Were you really going to use those items against a boss? were you realistically going to use those items when they would have been useful, but the situation wasn't, quote, perfect? No, you weren't. And you're going to finish the game with an inventory full of unused items. If using an item wrong and not using an item at all have the same outcome, why are you holding on to them? Just use it. Worst case scenario, you just have to reload the game and get the item back before using it. Is that really that bad of a thing? Is it really so terrible to have to reload a previous save, reload a checkpoint, just to make sure you have an item? I don't think so. Besides, you don't know how effective those items are if you never use them. Use them, see what happens, see how effective they are. And who knows, and when you start using items, maybe you'll find that the game is more fun because your characters have more options, and a character that maybe be too squishy to survive now has a defense boost, or a character who doesn't do a lot of damage to this specific type of enemy can throw grenades. There's nothing wrong with using items. So, you want to know how to use potions before the final boss? The trick is admitting to yourself you probably weren't going to use the potion anyway, so there's no real downside to using it now. Attention sailors and passengers, that is the end of our cruise for today, and I would like to thank everyone who joined us. If you wish to join the crew of the Revenge, press the subscribe button and press the bell to get notified when we set sail. If you wish to remain a passenger, I hope you return for another trip. This has been your captain, Lucia Flora, and I will see you on the next adventure. Be excellent to each other.